having a little experiment this morning. Pretty much everyone I see around here sails around with just the Genoa, and since we're running downwind all day and it could be up to 25 plus knots, I'm just going to give it a go. Normally I'll be running with the main, and if the wind blows up really strong I'll put the Genoa away and just run on the main. So we're doing it the opposite way around. It's worth a shot. 35 miles ish to do, 37, something like that today, not too far, into Egersund, and then the weather is going to blow up tomorrow, so probably going to end up there for 2 or 3 days sheltering from the storm that's coming through. Well, I've been forced to put the engine on as well. Not enough wind, we're doing 2.5 knots, and that would give our arrival time something like midnight to 2 AM. So still horses on for a little bit. Hopefully the wind fills in soon, although just looked at the updated forecast and it looks like it might be this afternoon before the wind builds, which is frustrating. I'm amazed at how much the landscape has changed this morning. It's like we've arrived in a different country. The wind still hasn't arrived. We've got around 8 or 9 knots of wind. Still not enough to make a good enough speed. I was expecting up to 25 knots according to the forecast, but hey, still running downwind. The engine's only on 1300 RPM, which would be about 3.5 knots of speed, boat speed, but we're doing 5 knots with the wind as well. We should have been doing 6 or 7 knots in 15 to 20 knots of wind, but hey, can't have it all. Gabriella sneaking up on me behind. Well, that's a first. So that is the rescue service. 2 boats in tow. And look who has been sneaking up behind me. Dreadful behaviour. And off there where the green fields stop and the hills start, that's the entrance to get through inland towards Egersund. So we're not far away now. Another 2 or 3 hours and we should be in there tied up. And finally, 6 hours in, got enough wind to sail. Yeah! Doing 5.5 knots. The wind's just gone up into double numbers. In fact, it's just gone up to 15. Fat dabby dozy. I could crush a grape. Looks like we got ourselves a convoy, good buddy. It's getting busier and busier further south we go. There's boats everywhere. close to the entrance. About 1.5 miles to go. We go between that, if you can see it, the island and the white post. I go between those, turn right and head up into the fjord. Scenery's very different to further north, but equally stunning. Gotta say, it's absolutely stunning here. Interesting entrance. So you probably see there's a rock right in the middle of the entrance there, and even though I could see it on the chart, I was really struggling to figure out as I was coming in from, well, we see where Gabrielle are over there, coming in from that angle. The entrance doesn't open up until you're practically parallel with it, which means you're practically hitting the rock. But we're in. It's been another spectacular sail. Glorious sunshine. The wind eventually came, so the last few hours I've been sailing downwind. Put the music on, did a few conference calls. Blinding day. Perfectly sheltered here for the last couple of days, just seeing out the weather that's been blowing through, and today it's off to Kristiansand. Got a narrow window, it's a 24 hour sail, so leaving at about 8:30 in the morning, and we've basically following one front that's been going through the last couple of days and are being chased by the next one. There's major storms in the UK at the moment, and they're going to hit whilst we're in Kristiansand. So going to get in there, get sheltered. Looks like going to be there for about 3 days, maybe 4, and then the plan is to jump across to Denmark, and then from Denmark down to the Kiel Canal, and start heading back towards the UK. Got about 80 odd miles to do today round to Kristiansand, and we've got wind at the moment. We're running downwind with just the main, got about 8 or 9 knots of wind. We're doing an average of around 4.5 knots, which gets us there too early, but we've got wind now. Once we get round the corner, the likelihood is we're going to have very little wind, so I expect we're going to end up going quite a bit slower. There's also along the coast here a number of danger areas where the seabed shelves very quickly to quite shallow waters, about 20 meters, and the waves can build up quite high around those. Although the sea state's not horrific today, waves are between half a metre and a metre at the moment. I'm going to stay well out and avoid those areas, out in nice deep water. I think it's going to be quite a gentle day, a little bit rolly, but nothing too horrific. Completely agree, thank you. Just need the sun to come out and it'd be absolutely gorgeous. And some dolphins, that'd be nice. What I did want to talk about was sailing in the Schengen zone, because the information that's available online is, well, it's utterly useless. You get so many contrary opinions, it's ridiculous. But reading through the various governments' literature, they kind of suggest you have to check in and check out of every single country on the way through. And that put me off from going around the European coastline and up through Denmark to get to Norway. That was my original plan, but it would just be ridiculous. There's so many countries along the way, and checking in and checking out of every single one, wasting probably the best part of a day each time. Couldn't be bothered. However, when we arrived in Norway and spoke to the border police at the airport, they said it was more important to have your passport stamped on entry and your passport stamped on exit when you finally exit the Schengen zone, which seems eminently more sensible. However, I don't know if the Dutch and the French will agree with that, so I'm playing it by ear. I'm going for it. I'll let you know if there are any problems, obviously, but fingers crossed, we're all good. The only thing I haven't done in Norway is go through customs. That wasn't an option for us at the airport. So when I get to the EU properly in Denmark, I think I might try to at least visit customs and get the boat properly booked in. The Norwegians did take our boat details. They took the MMSI and boat name. So I don't know if that would count. Certainly they'll be able to track us wherever we go. But information online is, well, it's just a confused mess. Nothing is easy to find. There's no information specifically for pleasure boats visiting countries, and what information you can find on Noon site and various other places simply contradicts itself all over. It's pretty much a waste of time even bothering to read it half the time. For instance, most of the information said that when we arrived in Bergen we had to go to the police station, and on arriving at the police station we were told to come back on Monday. And when we went back on Monday we were told, no, we can't check in there, we have to go to the airport. So it was a train ride to the airport. We then spent a good 2 hours sat around waiting for the border police to find someone who knew how to check in a pleasure boat. And once it was there, the process was simple, easy and quick, but it wasted an entire day. We were about 5 hours in total. I can't wait to see what the Dutch or the French make of me exiting Schengen. Fingers crossed it's just as easy as going and getting your passport stamped, but we shall see. So from Kristiansand, it's wait for a weather window to go south across the mouth of the Baltic and over to Denmark. If there isn't a window suitable, then I might hop a little bit further down the Norwegian coast. We shall see. Then from the north of Denmark, it's down the east coast, down to the Kiel Canal, through the Kiel Canal, and I am going to do a decent video on transiting the Kiel Canal, because having spent quite a bit of time watching videos that claimed to give you helpful information on how to transit the canal, none of them actually did. So you can look forward to that one. And from the Kiel Canal, I'd like to go across to Helgeland, fill up the boat with duty-free booze, and then head across to Belgium or Holland from there. Up the coast a little bit, potentially to Calais, check out, sail across to Dover, and then back along the south coast to Cornwall. That's the rough plan. It will of course depend very much on the weather and timings. I'd like to be back. I'd like to be back before the end of September at the latest, so not to average a decent number of miles each day really. So knocking 80 miles off in one day is a really good start. And it's around 100 miles across to Denmark. I'm hoping to stop in Denmark and visit some friends that I have out there. And then fingers crossed, SV Gabrielle will be arriving at the Kiel Canal roughly the same time as me. They're going to Sweden and then across from Sweden. What a smashing day. And I can see the sun's coming out over there. So we're getting on for 4 hours in now, going on for 20 miles travelled. The wind has built up to about 15 knots. Woo! And the waves are gradually building up, getting the odd 2-metre wave now. So the rolling, although it's not bad, is just a little bit more extreme. However, it's downwind, easy going. We're averaging around 5.5 knots. Don't know if you can see the screen, but we have some warning areas here around the point where the depth of water disappears very quickly. So we're staying well outside of there. And then as we come around the corner here, we'll start to lose the wind and the waves. And the last leg to Kristiansand will probably be quite a bit slower. You might wonder why it would be rolly if we're running dead downwind, because the wind waves are coming from directly behind. You can probably see that there, right from behind us. However, the ocean swell is coming from about 45 degrees off from that. Equals 1 now, and that obviously makes the boat roll. So, fortunately the swell has quite a big gap between them, so it's not too bad. That's another one. 7 hours and 38 miles in. The sun's come out, wall to wall blue sky, and the wind has shifted round and we've altered course so that now the swell and the wind waves are almost aligned directly behind us, so there's nothing like as much rolling, which is nice. Just had cheese and pickle toasties for lunch. Just shows you how easy going it is. Prepared to sit there and make sandwiches and toast them. Gabrielle is still right behind us. We've been getting around 20 knots of wind, well, somewhere between 15 and 20. And boat speed has been ranging between 6 knots and 9 knots. Our average for the whole trip so far is about 5.5. So doing really well. Right now, if it carries on like this, our arrival time is going to be about 11 PM. And however, I don't think it's going to last. The wind is going to die at some point, probably when we get around the corner and we're running along the south coast of Norway. Okay, well, it's 6:30 in the evening. We're 9 hours and 40 minutes in, 52 miles gone, almost 53, and we've still got wind. Somewhat unexpectedly. The forecast was suggesting once we got onto the south coast of Norway that we'd end up in a bit of a wind hole. But that's not happened so far, so we're making really good progress. It's looking like we're going to arrive there sometime around, well, between 11 PM and 1 in the morning, if this holds up anyway. It's absolutely glorious. Nothing to report, no wildlife. The odd ship, the odd sailboat, including one who made me turn 30 degrees to starboard to avoid him planning into me, despite the fact that he was on a port tack and I was on a starboard tack. I was expecting him to tack and turn away, but no, he just left it and left it and left it. Until with about 20 seconds spare, I changed the course to go port to port. Lucky I was even on deck. I was making cheese toasties at the time. It's gone 8 PM. We're 60 miles into the passage, 20 miles to go, and the wind hasn't let up at all day, contrary to what the forecast said. The forecast now says the wind's going to carry on until 1 or 2 in the morning, which is after we will arrive. So we're going to arrive in darkness. And because it's going to be dark, rather than trying to get into a marina in pitch black, I think we'll probably end up anchoring at one of the anchorages on the way in. There's 3 potential anchorages we could go into. One of them looks very easy, but would be subject to wake from the passing ships. we'll have to see. But certainly that one would be by far the easiest to navigate into in the dark. The others aren't too bad. Entrances are about 100 feet plus wide, and there's plenty of room inside them to swing around, and they're reasonably shallow, 10 meters or less. But we'll see a bit nearer the time. I think in all honesty we're probably going to get there around midnight. Unless the wind does decide to suddenly calm down, in which case we might get there at 3:30 and it'll be getting light. We'll see. I should say as well, this area has a warning on the charts for having exceptional waves. Given the conditions today, not too bad, but definitely bigger waves than we had before we got here. Here we go. Second one of the day. That's a collision alarm going off. Let's see if this guy does the right thing. Well, it looks like he might have changed course a tiny bit. Starting to think he's going to sneak past behind me now, but Gabrielle is right behind me. Yes, he has changed course. Oh, I don't need to use the air horn. Oh, god damn it. Well, today's been a big surprise. I had our arrival time pegged at between 4 AM and 10 AM, worst case, looking at the forecast yesterday, but we've had 15 to 20 knots of wind pretty much all day. Current ETA is between midnight and 1:30 in the morning. Just typical. Well, we can get into a nice anchorage, and tomorrow is going to be quiet, so there's no rush to do anything tomorrow. We can potter into a marina at any point during the day, and then in the evening the next day the wind is going to get up to, well, potentially over 60 knots. The storm that's battering the UK today will have made its way across. That's something to look forward to. Get some jobs done on the boat, maybe even get a video edited. It's 9:30, 12.5 hours into the trip, 67 miles done, with 13 miles to go. It's amazing how quickly the nights are drawing in. Seems like only a few days ago it was light all night. I know it was more like 3 or 4 weeks ago, but 9:30, the sun's going down already. Very glad I'm on my way south. We're about parallel with Aberdeen, I believe, at the moment. Well, it's 11 o'clock and I've just been woken up by the collision alarm as Gabrielle changed course just ahead of me. Nothing to worry about, but that's the end of that 10 minutes news. And there's the alarm to tell me to wake up. It's getting pretty dark. I can see stars for the first time in, I don't know how long it is since I've seen stars, maybe 2 months. So this is where we ended up last night, in pitch dark. Came through that little gap there and dropped the hook in this pool. It's rather a nice spot. It was interesting coming in here last night. Spotting some of the navigation marks was tricky. There were a number of them that weren't lit, so yeah, we're heavily reliant upon navionics until we could see the lighthouse, and with the sector light on it, so we could follow the sector light in.